am a huge fan of Haikyuu. I think that manga is one of the greatest sports mangas to come out in the past 10 or 20 years, and I really like the journey and arc that Hinata Shoyo went on during the course of Haikyuu. And the entire series, Hinata has always displayed the heart of a champion. When the series starts off, we see that Hinata is already pretty gifted and has an insane jumping ability for a man his size. And very quickly he forms a friendship with Kageyama and they become a powerhouse for Krasuno. And at the beginning of the series, Kageyama and Hinata are on very similar levels. But as the series progresses, Kageyama just continues to get better and better, and so does Hinata, but not at the same rate anymore. Kageyama is seen as a genius with unlimited potential and growth, and Hinata has finally hit his ceiling for his growth and development. During their match against Shiratorizawa, the head coach Washijo thought that Hinata would never become an elite player because of his height difference. Washijo was an exceptional player back in his day, but he suffered the same fate that Hinata had, being short. And in a game dominated by a height, that is one of the breaking factors. And Washijo gave up on his dream because of this. But the entire match, Hinata showed Washijo that he was still a player to watch out for, and challenged a lot of Washijo's previously held beliefs that it doesn't matter how good you are, if you aren't tall enough, you will never be an elite player. And after Hinata defeated Shiratorizawa, Washijo had to confront his own inability to believe in himself and the fact that he gave up on his dream while Hinata is soaring to new heights. But even so, Hinata is not at the level of other athletes that are taller than him. Right before Nationals, Kageyama was invited to the All Japan Youth Training Camp, which is a very prestigious training camp for those new prospects that are going to lead Japan into the new era of volleyball. And unfortunately, Hinata was not selected to be part of this elite group. And to add insult to injury, Tsukishima was invited to a mock youth camp, which was a special training camp for promising rookies in the Miyagi Prefecture. Again, Hinata was overlooked in favor of taller players. Even though Hinata was very impressive during his spring tournament, it did not mean that Hinata secured himself as one of Japan's top prospects. And during this time, Kageyama told Hinata that he's going on ahead, and that really struck a chord with Hinata. This entire time, Kageyama and Hinata were one-upping each other, but this is the first time where Kageyama is seemingly out of reach, and Hinata is desperately trying to catch up. And in a bit of desperation, he crashes Tsukishima's training camp. And here, Hinata displays an astonishing level of humility and maturity. He understands that he wasn't selected for this special camp, but he doesn't try to force himself in with the starting roster. He just wants to honestly observe and learn from those that were selected to be the best of the prefecture. And Coach Washijo allows Hinata to observe the camp and makes him a ball boy. And for a player of Hinata's level to go all the way back to the beginning and be an assistant for those training shows Hinata's true colors. Hinata really does have the heart of a champion. He doesn't let his ego or his past accomplishments affect the way he behaves in this training camp. He is willing to become the student again to learn and get better. And it's extremely difficult to find athletes that are willing to swallow their pride in hopes of getting better. And Coach Washijo even tells Hinata that without that Kageyama as your setter, I don't see any value in you at all. For most players, this would destroy them and maybe even make them give up their career. But Hinata is not fazed and continues to be the ball boy for this camp because he knows that he can elevate his own game from being around other high-level players. And this stint as a ball boy really worked out for Hinata because with a technique he learned during his training camp, he was able to slow down the tempo of the last rally against Inarizaki, which enabled his team to synchronize and win the entire game. But unfortunately, Hinata got sick during his match with Hoshiyumi's team and had to be pulled out of the match. And Hinata did not want to get out of the match. He knew that he was vital to Krasuno's success. But Coach Takeda sat Hinata down and taught him a very important lesson, that there are walls that you cannot get over with grit and gumption alone. When you hit those walls, what you need most are knowledge and a level head, and most of all, thoughtfulness. You will always be small. You will not be given the same chance that other players are. It's unfortunate, but this is a truth you must accept. But that doesn't mean you have to give up. Make certain you grab each and every chance you do get. Don't let a single one slip away. Be the one who's always at the very front of the line when opportunity comes knocking. This is probably the most important speech for all of Hinata's character development. He wanted to compete and still keep playing in nationals, but he realized it was detrimental to his own health. And for better or worse, he decided to listen to his coach and sat out just in case he felt better enough to come in for the last half of the game when they needed him the most. Unfortunately, Hinata never did get better, and Karasuno lost to Hoshiumi's team. And there, Karasuno's volleyball dreams died, and the third years had to graduate and move on. And during their time in high school, Hinata and Kageyama only were able to go to nationals one more time, but they got to place third in their nation during their senior year of high school. And when it was time for them to separate, Kageyama was skilled enough to go into the V-League and even played in the Olympic, while Hinata had to take a step back and get out of his comfort zone in order to catch up to Kageyama. And because of that, Hinata decided he wanted to play beach volleyball in Brazil, where the level of competition is way higher than it is in Japan. Hinata recognized that he needed to learn how to do everything in volleyball in order to compete with those at the highest of levels. And unexpectedly, Coach Washijo from Shiratorizawa decided to help out Hinata. Washijo had an old alum that is now living in Rio de Janeiro. And after sending Hinata off to Brazil, Coach Washijo said this: "Hinata is going places, and I will be damned if I let anyone out there have higher expectations for him than me." And it's remarkable how Hinata was able to cause this change in Washijo. And now for the first time in his life, Washijo is optimistic of players his and Hinata's size. And while Hinata's rivals like Ushijima and Kageyama are playing in the Pro League, Hinata had to take a step back again and learn all the fundamentals of volleyball so he could catch up to his rivals. And Hinata even has a poster in his room: "He who would climb the ladder must begin at the bottom." The amount of humility that Hinata possesses is something we should all strive for. Watching Kageyama play in the Olympic must have been so hard for Hinata to watch, because while Kageyama is at the height of his career, Hinata is nowhere near there. But he doesn't let that discourage him, and he continues to work hard. And during Hinata's 2 years in Brazil, you really see how he struggles. He is isolated from all of his friends and family, and he feels alone. And the panel that broke me is when you see him look at his phone background and see his team members, and then he gets really sad and just crying in his apartment. But diamonds are formed under pressure, and Hinata does not let this get to him. He continues to work hard and improve on his fundamentals, and even gets to see Oikawa when Oikawa comes to Brazil for some training. And for a little bit, Hinata doesn't feel all alone, and he gets to play with Oikawa and learn and grow together. And unfortunately, that doesn't last long, and Oikawa has to go back. But before he leaves, he tells Hinata that he's going to beat everybody, including him, so be ready. And for the next 2 years, Hinata does nothing but train to prove that he doesn't need a setter to be a valuable asset to his team. And because of this, Hinata is finally ready to step onto the pro stage and try out for the MSB Black Jackals, and Hinata actually makes the team. And for Hinata's first pro debut, he's actually playing against Kageyama's team, the Adlers. And during this match, you see it flash back and forth from Brazil, showing what Hinata learned in Brazil and then applying it to his match now. It really emphasizes the growth and journey that Hinata went on. During this match, he is receiving spikes from Ushijima. And back in high school, Hinata could never even hope to return a serve from Ushijima, but now he is able to do that and more. And Hinata is using all of the lessons he learned during his 2 years away to be able to deal with the monsters that are on Kageyama's team. And it's crazy to think that Hinata could have given all of this up after high school. He didn't have any colleges that were dying to have him on his team, and there wasn't any scouts that were wanting him to go pro like Kageyama. Hinata, through sheer grit and determination, had to pave his own way into the pro league. No one was going to give him that opportunity unless he fought for it himself. Like Coach Takeda said, that no one will give you these opportunities because of your height, so you must be ready to seize the opportunities when they arrive. And Hinata really took this to heart and focused on training himself to be a better player, regardless of what those around him were doing. And he might have felt like he was far behind them, but he didn't get discouraged and stayed in his own lane and forged a path to the pro league all on his own. He never gave up or stopped believing in himself, and because of that, he gave himself an opportunity today to play against Kageyama's pro team and actually beat them. And the first thing that Kageyama said after his loss was, "You made it." And Hinata responded with, "Yeah, I'm here now." Kageyama always knew that Hinata was going to end up in the pro league and face him one day, and never stopped believing in that possibility. And Hinata had to put his head down and swallow his pride more than once in order to become a player who could stand on the world stage. And Hinata and Kageyama kept playing against one another as pro players and eventually ended up on the Olympics together, taking on Oikawa's Argentinian team. And the series ends with Hinata and Kageyama standing opposite each other on different teams, competing in the Volleyball Men's World Club Championship, and they both say that today, once again, I'm going to win. Hinata's story is about perseverance and the guts to keep trying. No matter what cards you were dealt with in life or what people will say, keep going. And if we can learn anything from Hinata, then all of us have the potential to have the heart of a champion.